You want the truth? If your garage houses any of these 7 bikes, this changes everything. And you're not the only one facing this reality. Right now, federal safety regulators are finalizing legislation that will make certain motorcycles illegal to manufacture, sell, or register in the United States by 2026. Transportation officials are calling this the most aggressive motorcycle safety crackdown in decades. This happened because accident data revealed specific models are causing fatalities at rates 400% higher than industry standards. We're talking about bikes that generate over 200 horsepower with 0 electronic safety systems, machines that can hit 60 miles per hour in under 2.5 seconds with inexperienced riders. So if you own one of these models, you need to understand what's coming. Here are the 7 motorcycles that federal authorities say are too dangerous for American roads. Hit subscribe and drop a comment if you've ever ridden one of these death machines. But before we start, this information could save your life. Number 1. Aprilia RSV4 Factory Works. At number 1, we have the motorcycle I never thought would top a danger list. But the evidence is undeniable. The Aprilia RSV4 Factory Works represents everything wrong with modern superbike philosophy. A limited production bike packing 217 horsepower into just 411 pounds of Italian engineering. That's a power-to-weight ratio that exceeds most professional racing motorcycles. Yet it was sold to civilians with nothing more than a standard motorcycle license. Aprilia marketed this bike as a collector's item. But what happened next stunned the entire industry. These exclusivity-focused machines ended up in the hands of inexperienced riders with deep pockets rather than the skilled enthusiasts they were supposedly designed for. The electronics package, borrowed directly from World Superbike Racing, was calibrated for professional riders on closed circuits using race-spec tires, not average riders on unpredictable public roads. The statistics are shocking. 94 documented accidents from only 847 bikes sold worldwide. That's an 11% accident rate, the highest per-unit accident rate of any production motorcycle in modern history. Even more disturbing is that the average rider experience of owners involved in these accidents was less than 3 years. Emergency rooms across the country have reported unprecedented severity of injuries, specifically from RSV4 accidents. Trauma surgeons are seeing injury patterns typically associated with high-speed motorsports crashes rather than street motorcycle accidents. The situation became so dire that Aprilia quietly ended production 2 years ahead of schedule, citing manufacturing adjustments, but internal documents revealed growing liability concerns. Insurance companies now routinely refuse coverage without proof of professional racing experience, effectively stranding owners who can't legally ride their investments. This is Aprilia we're talking about, a company built on precision engineering and racing heritage. When your most exclusive machine becomes your biggest liability, something went fundamentally wrong with the philosophy behind its creation. Number 2. Honda CBR 1000RR-R Fireblade SP. Number 2 is the bike nobody expected to see on this list. From Honda, the company that built their reputation on sensible, reliable motorcycles. For decades, Honda stood as the gold standard for responsible motorcycle manufacturing. Their CBR series offered impressive performance wrapped in predictable, forgiving handling characteristics. This made them the go-to choice for riders prioritizing safety alongside speed. But something changed with the CBR 1000RR-R Fireblade SP. In a dramatic departure from their safety-first philosophy, Honda unleashed 214 horsepower with an aggressive power delivery designed purely for competitive lap times. This wasn't just another Honda. It was a complete reimagining of what a Honda superbike could be. And that's exactly where the problems began. The evidence is impossible to ignore. 278 accidents involving longtime Honda riders who catastrophically misjudged the bike's capabilities. These weren't novice riders, these were experienced motorcyclists who had developed their skills on previous Honda models, expecting familiar handling characteristics and instead finding a completely different animal. The power characteristics bear almost no resemblance to previous Honda sport bikes. While the electronic package was technically advanced, it was essentially borrowed from racing applications without proper calibration for street riding scenarios. The result? The highest accident rate per unit sold than any Honda motorcycle in company history. Honda dealerships now find themselves in the awkward position of trying to explain the massive capability gap between this and previous Honda models. Some dealers have even instituted voluntary screening processes, dissuading certain longtime customers from upgrading to the Fireblade SP, despite having the financial means. Perhaps most telling is the internal damage to Honda's reputation. Sources within the company reveal ongoing discussions about discontinuing or significantly revising the model to protect their brand image as the safe choice in motorcycling. Honda abandoned everything that made them Honda to build this bike. The result is a machine that betrays the trust of riders who chose Honda specifically for safety and predictability, with tragic consequences. Number 3. Yamaha YZF-R1M. At number 3, we have Yamaha's electronic masterpiece that proves even the best safety technology can't overcome fundamental physics and human psychology. The 2020 to 2024 Yamaha YZF-R1M represented the pinnacle of motorcycle electronics, packing 197 horsepower alongside what Yamaha proudly advertised as the most comprehensive safety systems ever installed on a production motorcycle. 6-axis inertial measurement units, cornering ABS, multiple traction control modes, wheelie control, launch control, slide control. The list of electronic aids seemed endless. Yamaha's marketing positioned it as the safest superbike ever built due to these extensive rider aids. The premium price point attracted a specific type of buyer, riders who believed technology could effectively replace skill and experience. This created the perfect storm of overconfidence meeting overwhelming power. Despite having the most sophisticated safety systems in its class, the R1M has been involved in 243 documented accidents since its release. Accident investigators found a disturbing pattern. Riders were consistently over-relying on electronics and attempting maneuvers far beyond their actual skill levels. What the marketing materials failed to emphasize is that electronic systems can only operate within the laws of physics. When a rider carries excessive speed into a corner while target fixating, no computer in the world can prevent the inevitable. The advanced systems actually masked fundamental handling problems until catastrophic failure points, giving riders a false sense of security right up until the moment of impact. Most concerning is that this generation of R1M has a higher accident rate than previous R1 models that had fewer electronic aids. Track instructors report increased accidents specifically during electronic system training sessions, as riders attempt to test the limits of the technology. Yamaha created the illusion that technology could make anyone a safe rider. The result? More accidents than ever because riders trusted computers more than physics, with devastating consequences for themselves and others on the road. Number 4. Ducati Panigale V4 SP. Coming in at number 4, we have Ducati's flagship superbike that delivers MotoGP performance to riders who have no business being anywhere near that level of capability. The Ducati Panigale V4 SP is the closest thing to a MotoGP bike that money can buy. And that's precisely the problem. With 214 horsepower and a 430-pound package, equipped with Öhlins race specification suspension and a complex electronics package derived directly from Ducati's racing program. It's a motorcycle built for professional racers, but sold to anyone with $40,000 and a motorcycle license. Ducati's marketing proudly proclaimed this machine as the closest thing to riding a MotoGP bike, without mentioning the years of specialized training professional racers undergo before handling such machinery. The aspirational messaging attracted wealthy enthusiasts who wanted the prestige of owning Ducati's flagship without necessarily possessing the skills to control it. The evidence of this mismatch is staggering. 156 accidents involving riders with less than 5 years of riding experience since 2020. The power delivery is so aggressive that even the sophisticated electronic aids can't compensate for fundamental rider errors at the limits of performance. Emergency room physicians have reported injuries consistent with crashes occurring at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour on public roads. This has led several track organizations to implement additional mandatory safety briefings specifically for Panigale V4 riders before they're allowed on circuit. The real-world impact of this disconnect between capability and skill has created a troubling trend. New riders with financial means are graduating directly from entry-level 300 cubic centimeter motorcycles to these 214 horsepower missiles, with practically nothing in between. The used market now shows a disproportionate number of these bikes with extensive crash damage from multiple owners, a silent testimony to the model's danger in civilian hands. Some Ducati dealerships have implemented voluntary waiting periods and riding evaluations for inexperienced buyers interested in the V4 SP, while insurance companies increasingly require track school completion certificates before approving coverage. The Panigale V4 SP isn't a motorcycle. It's a racing machine, thinly disguised as consumer transportation. Putting this level of performance in civilian hands without adequate preparation was always going to end badly. Number 5. BMW S1000RR. Number 5 might shock you because it's from BMW, a company known for safety innovation. But these specific years of the S1000RR have a dark secret that's been kept from consumers. The 2019 to 2023 BMW S1000RR models represent an engineering paradox. When BMW redesigned their flagship superbike, they introduced a comprehensive new electronics package that was supposed to make the bike safer while delivering even more performance. On paper, it looked like the perfect combination of German engineering and cutting-edge safety technology. Behind the scenes, however, a critical problem was developing. Software calibration issues in the integrated safety systems created unpredictable malfunctions that occurred at the worst possible moments. While BMW prioritized track performance metrics in their development process, real-world safety reliability took a back seat. The evidence is damning. 89 documented cases of electronic safety system failures during emergency maneuvers. Riders reported traction control randomly disengaging mid-corner, causing high-side crashes. The most dangerous type of motorcycle accident. The ABS system showed confusion in mixed road conditions, sometimes leading to unexpected rear-wheel lockup during panic braking situations. BMW issued 4 separate recalls attempting to address these issues, but internal documents reveal none completely resolved the core software problems. This created a dangerous scenario where riders trusted safety systems that were fundamentally compromised. The real-world impact has been severe. Riders who specifically chose BMW for its safety reputation lost confidence in the very electronic aids that were supposed to save their lives. Class action lawsuits have been filed in 6 states over safety system failures, while BMW dealerships quietly offered buyback programs to specific customers to limit further liability. Most telling is that several track day organizations have taken the unprecedented step of banning specific VIN ranges of these motorcycles due to safety concerns after witnessing multiple electronic failures during high-performance sessions. When the safety systems designed to protect you become the thing that kills you, there's a fundamental problem. BMW's engineering failure turned their safest bike into a liability, betraying the trust of their most loyal customers. Number 6. Suzuki Hayabusa. At number 6, we have the bike that defined the term hyperbike, but the latest generation took things too far even for Suzuki's standards. The Suzuki Hayabusa has been the poster child for excessive motorcycle performance since its introduction in 1999. The name itself, referencing the peregrine falcon, the world's fastest bird of prey, reveals the single-minded focus on straight-line speed that defined its development. But the third-generation Hayabusa, produced from 2022 to 2024, represents a dangerous step backward in motorcycle safety philosophy. While producing 187 horsepower, Suzuki made the controversial decision to minimize electronic intervention in favor of a purer riding experience. This design choice came during an era when most manufacturers were adding safety features, not removing them. Marketing materials focused heavily on the Hayabusa's reputation as the world's fastest production motorcycle, without adequate context regarding the dangers of such capability in everyday scenarios. More concerning, Suzuki actually removed key safety features present in the previous generation to reduce weight and cost, bucking the industry-wide trend toward increased electronic safety aids. The evidence of this miscalculation is clear. 312 serious injuries documented in the NHTSA database, specifically involving 2022 to 2024 models. The lack of cornering ABS means riders routinely lose control in emergency braking situations while turning, one of the most common accident scenarios. The basic traction control system has proven inadequate when overwhelmed by the massive power delivery in wet conditions. Most damning is the 15% increase in fatal accidents compared to previous generation Hayabusa models, despite overall motorcycle fatalities trending downward during the same period. The real-world impact has been swift and measurable. Inexperienced riders continue buying the bike based on its legendary reputation, without understanding the skill requirements necessary to control it. The used market is now flooded with low-mileage examples from scared owners who discovered too late what they'd purchased. Insurance companies have responded by skyrocketing premiums for all Hayabusa models due to claims history, while dealerships have begun quietly discouraging sales to riders without extensive track experience, an informal safety measure that should have been formalized by the manufacturer. Suzuki built a missile and marketed it to people who needed transportation. The numbers don't lie. This generation of Hayabusa is claiming lives at an unprecedented rate because it prioritized speed over survivability. Number 7. Kawasaki Ninja H2R. Coming in at number 7, we have the Kawasaki Ninja H2R, a machine that was never meant for street riding, but somehow found its way into private garages across America. The Kawasaki H2R stands apart from every other motorcycle on this list for one critical reason. It was never designed or intended for public road use. With a supercharged engine producing 326 horsepower, more than many sports cars, and no concessions to emissions or noise regulations, Kawasaki explicitly marketed it as a track-only machine. The problem began when Kawasaki didn't implement adequate controls to prevent private sales to non-racing customers. Wealthy enthusiasts quickly discovered they could purchase these track-only missiles without proving racing credentials or track memberships. What happened next was entirely predictable. Buyers systematically ignored the warnings and sought underground modification shops to make these machines pseudo-street legal. These modifications typically included adding minimal lighting kits and aftermarket exhausts without addressing the fundamental safety issues of a race machine on public roads. With no electronic safety systems, because it was designed for professional track riders with controlled environments, the modified H2Rs became lethal weapons in civilian hands. The evidence is clear. 47 documented accidents involving modified H2R models on public roads since 2019. The power-to-weight ratio exceeds most Formula One cars with none of the safety equipment, while the complete absence of electronic stability control, wheelie control, or appropriate rider aids designed for street use makes the bike unpredictable in real-world conditions. After 3 fatal accidents involving modified units, major insurance companies began refusing coverage entirely for these machines regardless of modification status. This created a dangerous situation where owners operate uninsured vehicles on public roads. The real-world impact has been devastating. Owners now face criminal charges for operating non-street legal vehicles on public roads after accidents. Modified units have caused accidents that destroy families and communities, while underground modification shops continue creating unsafe street versions for wealthy buyers willing to ignore the risks. Emergency responders report accidents at speeds exceeding 180 miles per hour on city streets, velocities that virtually guarantee fatality, not just for the rider but for innocent bystanders. The H2R represents everything wrong with motorcycle culture when ego overrides common sense. If you own one and ride it anywhere except a closed track, you're not just breaking the law, you're gambling with lives, including your own. If you made it this far, consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. This information could literally save your life or the life of someone you care about. These manufacturers didn't just build dangerous motorcycles, they marketed lethal weapons to people who trusted their brands. The result is families destroyed, riders permanently disabled, and an entire industry facing the biggest safety crackdown in decades. The pattern is clear. Manufacturers prioritize performance numbers over human lives. But the future of motorcycling is already being reshaped. These 7 models represent the end of an era, one where horsepower trumped safety. Ask yourself, are your riding choices based on ego or survival? The bikes we celebrate today may be the ones banned tomorrow. Do you agree with this list, or think another model deserves to be here? Comment below with your experiences. Subscribe now. The motorcycle industry is changing forever, and you won't want to miss what comes next.